How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to talk about household debt and, with inflation, how housing affordability is impacted. So, the reason why is because new data shows that the household debt in the US is rising at the fastest pace since 2008, when the last economic collapse and there was all the housing crash issues. So, inflation, of course, has now pushed more Americans to borrow more with credit cards, lines of credit, sometimes just to meet basic needs. And this is the real big problem for household debt. So the Federal Reserve Bank of New York said in its report this week that the total household borrowing has reached crazy new highs of $16.51 trillion just in the third quarter. Staggering number. And this is a $351 billion increase from the last quarter. And this is at 8.3% jump from a year ago. So 8.3% jump in overall household debt. And unfortunately, that 8.3% jump, this is the highest, okay? This is the fastest annual increase of household debt in 14 years. 14 years, just massive. So we're going to take a look at this chart here, but overall, this means that the borrowing, okay, the borrowing has increased by $2.36 trillion from 2019. Crazy high number. Now this debt reflects credit card, mortgages, auto loan balances, and basically anything using a line of credit to borrow money. Now look at this chart here. We can see this goes back to 2003, when in 2003 it was roughly seven or so. So it was a long time ago, 2003. But nonetheless, from then it has it certainly has more than doubled. So here graphically, we can see that the household borrowing reached 16.5 trillion in the third quarter, that 350 billion increase. And the only thing that does seem to be slowing down is, of course, the new mortgages because, well, high interest rates, right? And of course, all this affects living, affects housing affordability. The new mortgage volume has been plunging, okay, in the second half of 2022. Of course, this is because of the Fed's interest rate hikes. These rate hikes, which are intended to tame inflation, cools the economy, slows things down, but increases the repayment cost of many types of borrowing, including those home loans. So here's another chart. Number of accounts by loan type. Credit card is just skyrocketing. This is Fed Reserve Bank of New York. This chart shows the percent of balance that are 90 plus days delinquent, okay, by loan type. So on the plus side, student loans are down. And what we know is that this is, of course, because during the pandemic, during C-19, there were sweeping forbearance loans policies put in place to slow down the repayments. So this is really good, actually. It shows that a lot of people are doing okay in their student loans, even their credit card. It's not that many folks, right? Less than 10%. Let's say 7.5%. There's not that many people that are delinquent. Even the credit cards are not that delinquent for now. What's next year going to bring? That is really going to be the pickle. And of course, the other aspect of all this inflation stuff and the job growth, the real wage growth, not really growing much, is that, well, a lot of people are tapping into credit lines. So very high interest rates for those loans, for those credit cards, and it's just adding to the debt. And this creates the problem, further kicking down the can. So the financing costs are through the roof. Anyone earning less than about 100K basically is priced out of home ownership, especially in really hot markets. You know, you're looking at California, which still remains super high despite demand lowering. Also, of course, Florida is just through the roof. And a lot of places like Colorado still remains very high. Check out this other video I made. That one has inflation rates per different states, and it kind of compares it to each other. They are vastly different depending on where you are, so the locality matters quite a bit. A report by real estate brokerage firm Redfin found that in October, the average buyer, okay, in all of the United States needed about $107,200 to afford the monthly mortgage payment just for a median priced home. So this is really bad because, you have a lot of people getting laid off. A lot of people actually have given up on the job market. They're not even counted. And the jobs report coming out of the Bureau of Labor and Stats, they're actually double counting those who have 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. They're counted twice. Made a video about that too. So the crazy part about this Redfin report, okay, they're saying that the average buyer needs about $107,000 to afford the monthly mortgage payment. Now, this is the crazy part, right? This is a whopping, get this is a whopping 46% higher than just last year, which is completely insane. So last year, the average person, the average buyer needed roughly $74,000 to be able to afford the monthly mortgage payment on just a regular median priced home across the United States. This is $74,000 versus $107,000. This is vastly different numbers. This is crazy. So maybe this is part of the little housing bubble crisis that we're experiencing, but maybe it's also a sign of what your money can buy nowadays, right? So, of course, inflation is very high, record highs, but maybe the official numbers are not telling the whole truth. So this chart is by Redfin. Here we can see graphically, look at that slope, from January 21st, right? Skyrocketed straight up. So in February 2021, all you needed was roughly about 60-something thousand, and you can afford an average median priced home. Okay, you can afford the monthly payments. Now you can't afford it if you still get paid the same amount of money. Now you need that $107,000, and it's trending upwards. So what? Next year you're going to have to basically make $150K a year just to buy the average home. Just staggering numbers. And as we can see, it was actually fairly steady at about $60K according to Redfin since 2018. So that's a good sign for the last number of years, 4 or 5 years. But now this trend is really harming a lot of families. Now let's take a look at this chart. This is the US real average weekly earnings, and it goes back really far to 2007, which was 2007, 2008, roughly during the housing crisis and all that chaos that happened back then. Now look at the last 2 years. From 2021 to 2022, we have had a record 19 consecutive months of negative real wage growth. This is really, really bad news. So many prospective home buyers have likely given up, and now they're screwed. They're forced to rent or downgrade. Now another chart by Redfin. This one says U.S. pending home sales index, and another one is U.S. home mortgage 30-year fixed national average. Now, as you can tell, they're both diving. It's a nosedive for both of them. And what does this tell you? This says that affordability, and according to Redfin, quote here, affordability challenges are the major reason why home sales have slowed down so dramatically over the last few months. Now, of course, right? Interest rate going up, so people are cooling off on the housing market. So let's hope that the geniuses, the experts, have a really good plan, because something very bad is going to happen if things don't get fixed quickly, sooner than later. Okay? Because most people that I know don't want to own nothing, and definitely will not be happy if they own nothing. Okay? So There is that. Well, anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Smash the like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.
Maybach